Thank you, Netta, so much. I think it's really wonderful to hear what you all are doing in HiFed, so that you all can hear the incredible amount of detail-oriented work that goes into, as Kevin said, the quality that you see online. My name is Anne Ray, and I'm a content development manager at JSTOR. What I'm going to be talking with you all about today is how JSTOR works with publishers, and elaborating just a little bit on some of the things that Laura touched upon. And I'll also just end by telling you in the room who are publishers how you can take part. And just to tell you where we are today, I'm really pleased to report that the publishers of 9 journals have signed on to participate in this project, and they include the Mandel Institute, the World Union of Jewish Studies, the journal Social Security, and the Bergman Center, publisher of the journal Iyun, and several others. And some of those people are here today, so if you are considering working with us, you can feel free to talk to any of those individuals. And as Netta mentioned, production is well underway. And as Laura said, we work with 900 publishers, and this group is becoming increasingly international. We have 54 countries represented by the publishers we work with. Recently added include Czech Republic, Hong Kong, Sudan, Venezuela, Korea, Bangladesh, and of course, Israel. And as Laura also mentioned, this group of publishers is very diverse and includes scholarly associations, both very big and very small. And a lot of the publishers, the majority, actually are independent or academic institutions, and we do work with the large commercial presses and university presses. And we hope that JSTOR offers a good home to publishers of any size. And just a little word about our approach in general for working with publishers is, as Laura said, journals are invited to participate, and we apply some criteria for inclusion to help build a resource of very high quality. And these criteria include age, historical significance, its overall reputation in its field, and of course its general fit for a scholarly audience. And as Laura also said, we do work based on the recommendations of scholar and librarian advisors. And actually, many of the publishers themselves are, of course, scholars. And Stephen Rosen, actually, from one of the journals, has helped me in the past when I was looking into archaeology periodicals. And the reason we take this approach is because we want the content on our platform to reflect the care that you all have taken to assemble your journals, and the care you take in selecting what goes into them, and also the care that the libraries and other institutions in the room have taken to curate your collections, and the care that you take in keeping them and maintaining them. And we also complete some quantitative analysis to perhaps look for trends in use and maybe uncover hidden needs. So we look at usage data or citation data and citation rankings. And our approach in selecting content is very much quantitative and qualitative, so we can try to create a full picture of what's available and valuable in the scholarly world. And we also take a discipline-based approach to building JSTOR. And just a quick background, we've worked on several collaborations with scholarly organizations to create targeted groups of content that serve whole disciplines. And a couple of the ones that we've done in the past include working with the Modern Language Association on our language and literature collection, or the Ecological Society of America for our collection of ecology and botany materials. And we also work with some subject specialist library groups, and these have included the Association for Jewish Libraries and this other organization called Salam, which focuses on Latin American materials. And as Laura also said, we're building multi-content disciplinary resources like JSTOR Plant Science. And in general, this approach means that journals in JSTOR are within a large corpus of other journals in their fields, and so they are alongside their peers. And for us, we hope that this creates a really complete picture of a given field and offers a very powerful experience for scholars. And so just to speak briefly about some of the terms that we use when working with publishers. Publishers sign a non-exclusive license agreement with JSTOR, and they retain all the copyright and intellectual property rights to their journals. And as we've said, journals are digitized at no cost for publishers, and they're going back, all the way back to Volume 1, Issue 1. And those, as we've said, those digitized versions are generally made part of multidisciplinary and discipline-based collections. And then publishers also provide one complimentary subscription to their journal to JSTOR so that issues are added over time. And just to the earlier question about the moving wall, I hope this will explain it. Publishers do select what we have called the moving wall. And that is a gap between the most recent issue published and the latest issue available on JSTOR. So for example, if your moving wall is 3 years, in 2012 we will display from the very beginning up until 2008. And then in 2013 we would add one more year and display up until 2009. And generally the moving wall is either 3, 4, or 5 years, but the available range on the platform is from either 0, it's between 0 and 10. So I think to answer your question from earlier, the publisher actually selects what the moving wall is. And for the publishers in the room, you can actually change it if you would like to. And so on occasion, there might be a shift from year to year about what a moving wall might be for a given journal. Did that kind of answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. And just to speak really briefly about, in general, what we feel the value we offer to publishers is that first, JSTOR preserves scholarship. And we hope that this project will be one support to the National Library of Israel's efforts and all of the partners' efforts to preserve journals. We view our publishers as collaborators and partners, and Ithaca is devoted to the scholarly community, and we hope that, as folks have said, that we conduct some research that can inform your own endeavors. And as we also are, one of the values we offer is to connect content with diverse audiences. So we reach secondary schools, museums, and very small and medium institutions at no marketing cost to the publisher. And scholarship also stays vital for the long term. The most highly used articles in JSTOR are often 30 years old or longer. And this one here from the journal Econometrica is from 1979 and most recently occupied the top slot in the most highly used article across all of JSTOR. So it's a good way to help older articles stay alive for a very long time. And so just one more slide about how we hope that we can, we tried to answer a question about whether or not we can do the same as we've done in the past for Hebrew. Will we be able to keep older issues alive, and will we help scholars from diverse audiences and disciplines find the journals? And this is actually a question that we tried to answer, and I thought that we did some research into this, and I thought that you would find it useful to see some of the results. And as a result, why we think that JSTOR will be a good fit for Hebrew scholarship. First is, as you've heard, the work of the National Library of Israel and the University of Haifa to select the content matches our overall approach to select content. And they use similar criteria that we know through experience produces a very high quality resource. And those of you who are here as publishers have been approached because your journals meet these same criteria that we have always applied to JSTOR. And we did also some analysis of the survey responses that Laura mentioned. And this is just a screenshot of where the survey lives on the platform. And just users seeing the journals on our website can find a little link to a survey. And some of the responses from this survey, first we had over 320 responses that came in from 18 different countries. The majority were from the US and Israel, but they came from as far away as Japan and India. And what was really wonderful to see is that when asked what other Hebrew journals would you like to see on JSTOR, they asked for journals that had already been targeted by the National Library. So that included Leisonenu, Jerusalem Studies of Jewish Thought, and many more. And Laura also showed some of the survey responses that were quite positive, and this is one that came in that I hope shows the potential of what might be possible. And I'll just read it to you quickly. The presentation is excellent. I wasn't even looking for Hebrew materials, and it just popped out in my search results. Although I don't usually search for academic sources in Hebrew, as there are too few to rely on when researching an essay, it is very helpful to get across an article in Hebrew, as it is always easier and faster to read being my mother tongue. And the part I wanted to highlight is that obviously we all know in this room that there are myriad sources in Hebrew to be relied upon when researching an essay. And so I think that this person is probably asking that they be available digitally. They're looking to rely on that same content digitally. And I also think that it possibly can suggest that awareness of Hebrew serials needs to be raised a little bit. And this person just casually encountered them in their search results, and they found something very valuable, and now they know of its existence, and now that awareness has been raised a little bit. And I think that if we can reach people like this with 4 journals, we hope that with 40 journals we can reach countless other people in this same way. And one last test that we sort of ran is that we, sometimes in JSTOR, a piece of research that we do is we analyze the footnotes of journals that are on our platform and find out what are those footnotes citing. And so we did this kind of a test for journals in Jewish studies just to see what the result might be. And what came back is this is the top few results, and as you can see, some of the journals included in the pilot came up at the very top. And also what came up is that things that our system just recognized as non-Roman text and unrepresented characters, very likely to be Hebrew or perhaps Yiddish. That shows that we think that JSTOR will be a really good fit for Hebrew. It will be a very good place for us to, for Hebrew to live. And it has a place on JSTOR. So just to quickly summarize some of the practical benefits that we offer to publishers. Flexibility, again, the journals that work with us it is a non-exclusive agreement, and we are open to moderate adjustments to it. We offer a revenue sharing program for publishers, so there is some incremental revenue at no additional marketing cost to you. As Laura mentioned, there are a lot of built-in tools for discovery, and we do some linking with various disciplinary resources to help users find content. We also offer a member access service, which is an optional mechanism for to help reach your individual subscribers. And JSTOR takes on a lot of the administration and work of that. We also offer a publisher sales service where JSTOR can sell single articles or single whole issues on your behalf. And again, that's at no cost to you. And we also offer a benefit of marketing. We use a discipline and data-driven approach to outreach to institutions. We use turnaway data and usage by discipline data to help institutions find more value in the content on JSTOR. And as Laura mentioned, JSTOR is often the most heavily used resource on many campuses, and we also do some direct outreach to faculty to help raise awareness again. Usage statistics for publishers are available to you all the time, and we can also create a lot of customized reports at, again, no cost. And lastly, we also offer some specific linking for publishers. If you have your digital current issues, if you have your current issues available digitally, it's possible for us to link to those from the older issues on JSTOR. And most importantly, forthcoming for Hebrew language is that, as we've talked about a little bit, there is going to be some platform design and functionality to accommodate the reading order and accommodate the particularities of Hebrew. And lastly, if you are interested in working with us, I just wanted to walk through the next steps. You'll just need to review the publication license agreement, and we've made a Hebrew translation of it, which most of you should have in your packet. And you can share your feedback or questions about it with me. And once we've answered all your questions, you would just need to select a moving wall and provide us a signed copy, and provide JSTOR with one subscription, and then if necessary, work with Netta and her colleagues or the National Library of Israel about any spare or replacement issues if needed. And I just want to close by asking a question, which I hope we can think about today in our meeting here. Just what needs are most urgent in your own scholarly publishing community? Perhaps it's preservation, sustainability, and discovery. And I hope that we can all together here create a space where we can approach some of these issues. And we hope that this project will be a valuable start and that you will want to take part. That's it. And I think there might be some questions. Do we have time to do that?
Yes, we have about 15 minutes.
Okay.
I have a question. This model, with Haifa doing all the work, and the National Library sort of sponsoring this whole thing, is this a model that is like in other countries? How does it work elsewhere? Is this the best model to work? I mean, they're doing an amazing job and it's fine, but maybe one university shouldn't take upon itself all the work. It sounds like it's, you know, a huge task. How is it done elsewhere?
Excellent question. I can speak about one other project that we've done, but I don't know if you all would like to jump in first. We did one other project that was sort of similar. It was a project that was in Laura's earlier talk about, or actually maybe it's in the earlier one, sorry. It's about journals and content from Ireland. And we worked with an institution in Belfast, the Queen's University Belfast, and it was a similar arrangement where they created specific guidelines for those journals, they sourced them from their own collections, and they produced them according to JSTOR specification. So in a way, I think that we have a test case that worked quite well. And here we are able to really capitalize on just expertise that is not really elsewhere in the world. This is the National Library of Israel. No one else is going to be able to produce journals and do better. So, I don't know, I think that in some ways, yes, and in other ways, maybe not.
I think that, you know, the question, in this particular case, obviously the Hebrew language is a key part and understanding of the structure. So the collaboration where the skills and capabilities related to Hebrew journals and working in partnership with the skills that we bring to just journal production in general. So I think one of the key questions that comes out of that is obviously the university is supported in terms of funding to do this project. And so that's, you know, that makes it possible for the resource to be less expensive, you know, so when you're delivering it out to the users. But I think the second thing that we've had in a lot of cases is that institutions want to develop this capability. You know, I don't know, in some cases, you know, that the library wants to be able to do these types of projects and develop that kind of capability in-house. So there's a lot of value in going through that. What we heard was some of the detailed specifics of doing this for the JSTOR project are quite unique or distinct. So maybe less leverageable in some senses, but the general process of digitizing content is clearly a role that libraries increasingly are going to play or are seeking to play. So the opportunity to get experience doing that has value for the library that goes beyond, you know, they're doing all the work. Is that really a useful thing for them to do? So I think it really comes down to sort of the different skill sets that the different partners have, and whether they are out of doing that and getting experience in that enhances the kinds of services they can provide beyond that particular project. And the advantage of that having that work supported with resources, whether government or foundation or otherwise. So in the case of the UK or where we did a pamphlets project in a similar fashion with government funding supporting the digitization project at the library, they were digitizing a lot of other materials. So it helped them provide both, they developed that expertise locally that allowed them to do other kinds of content that they make available in their library site.
You mentioned books before. I wonder whether you considered giving preference to collective works, collections of articles, because as far as one's searchability, they are more similar to journals rather than monographs.
What with collected works?
Like jubilee volumes, memorial volumes, and so on.
Well, I think, you know, I think from one standpoint, as Laura mentioned, we have thought about a variety of different content types, all the way from primary source, you know, individual documents, archival collections, manuscripts, through to the serial publications. And so I think we're open to doing all different types. The books were of particular interest. Obviously, at one level, because the monograph, as Laura pointed out, is kind of under siege. It's being crowded out by the increasing cost of scientific publications and journals. And so the scholarly monograph in the humanities and social sciences is looking for a new model. And so, you know, the hope is that the electronic domain will provide new opportunities there. So, and you know, with the introduction of the tablets and everything, the interest in e-books has just, you know, soared in the commercial space. So the time is really right now for people to be looking for ebooks. And so it's kind of a confluence of those factors and the timing and the need for scholarly use of these monographs. So, you know, that's really what's driven us to be involved, and we've taken a very similar approach with the books as we've taken with other content. That is to say, we've sought out what are regarded as the highest quality academic publications, and so we're working with you know, the quote-unquote best scholarly presses, university presses, and publishers working in the scholarly domains.
Let me just see if I understand your question. Was it that, were you talking about a different kind of collection of material than a journal or a book?
No, because I thought that when you are searching a certain subject, it's much easier to locate monographs than to locate articles in collections of articles, collective works, and so on.
I see. I see. Well, I mean, the other thing is for our
This type
books.
of publication is much closer to a journal
Yes.
than a monograph.
Yes, I see what you're saying. But also for books, we actually chunk them at the chapter level, so the discovery is happening almost like in the, you know, a journal article size. I mean, you get to see the book, but you also see the pertinent, you know, section of that book that fits the subject. So there's a kind of a pulling apart of stuff, but also seeing the integrated work too.
Another question. Once a journal is into JSTOR, could it be taken out by the publisher, for example? Or once it's in, it stays in?
So the answer to that question is with respect to the way that JSTOR, the license agreements work. Once it's in, it stays in for all those institutions that have licensed the collection. So, so for example, if somebody licenses the Arts and Sciences 1 collection with 120 titles that are in there, once they've done that, then if the publisher is to withdraw, and you know, out of the 1,600 publishers, there are like 5, 3, 4. What will happen is all those institutions that have licensed that collection, it stays in. What happens when a publisher withdraws is the moving wall stops, and JSTOR no longer has the rights to license to new institutions for that item. But that's been a core tenet of the way we've approached this from the very beginning, was that this was an archive, and so it was, once the material is in there, the library has made the commitment to licensing the collection and can then make decisions about what they're going to do with their print. You can't just take that access to that out for that library, or they will have lost the long-term access. Why we're not for profit is why the whole organization is founded in the first place.
Your book also said about access. Would you consider opening this door to non-affiliated users in Israel, to Israeli JSTOR, where you do in the States or in other countries?
So
We have lots of inquiries from school libraries or public libraries in Israel. They all they love the content, they want access to it, and they can't get it because they're not part of the organization.
So Laura touched on this. I mean, I'll deal with the sort of general question quickly. So, you know, this is the biggest challenge for us. I mean, it is a big challenge in the sense that, you know, 5-6 years ago when we first made the full text of JSTOR indexable by Google, then many more people discovered JSTOR that didn't know that it existed before. But prior to that, mostly people were all in the academy, mostly had access. When it was searchable on the web, then people discovered it. And it's very difficult because we have, you know, like a lot of your institutions, we have a model for sustaining it on the long run. And so, you know, it's the thing that's made people angry. I mean, there's a lot of nice, positive tweets, etc. But when somebody who's a researcher or an academic, it's not affiliated with an institution, finds an article, it's really valuable to them, and they can't get access either because I mean, it's important to understand that we have relationships with publishers, and we respect those relationships. So some publishers say, we don't want you to deliver individual articles, we want them to come to our site. So for some number of JSTOR articles that people find through that search, we can't make it available to them at all in respecting the publisher relationship. In other cases, the publishers have identified this should be the price for delivering the article. So, you know, and they may set that price at $30 US, or they may set that price at something else. And so the users will find that article and then they'll be very frustrated. So, you know, Laura mentioned earlier that Front Door, Register and Read was one of the things that I've been championing, because it's you know, it's painful, frankly, to have this resource we've developed and not make it accessible. But, you know, like many things, to just say that we can make it for free is not possible. So what we're doing is we're approaching this in a long-term way. I mean, we could engage in a nice, healthy debate about open access. I believe that that JSTOR has grown and delivered more value by taking the approach that it did, by developing the resources so it can then make things available less expensively and can make it free where it can make it free and continue to work on that, than it would have if it had been open access from the beginning. Because frankly, we wouldn't have had the resources to continue to do all these great things that we're doing. But having said that, I think what we are wanting to do is to try to, as we were saying earlier, continue to innovate as a web-based organization. So how can we make more free? How can we develop new ways to make more of the content free and develop services around it? You know, like there's all the buzzwords of freemium and all that. You know, how can we take advantage? And the example that Laura was giving about Register and Read, where you saw the publishers like advertisement on the right for the Scholar Society. I mean, we have cases where there'll be an article from a journal that will have 20,000 referrals. So 20,000 times somebody did a Google search and clicked on a specific article, came to the JSTOR website, and that publisher has set the price, let's say, at $30. When they sell 3 of them. So now that we have the data, now that we have the resources to be able to provide the publisher the data, the publisher can then make a decision. Well, let's try a different price. Let's try a different price for a month and see if many more people buy it. Let's try making it available for free and see if more people actually click on our advertisement and subscribe to the journal. Because, you know, if you're only selling 3 articles, you can get, you know, $30 a piece, you get $90. If you get one, you know, long-term subscriber, you're going to be better off. So it's not that we're trying to force the publishers to do anything. What we're trying to do is instrument the environment so that the publishers can learn to make choices that are strategic, that are in their interests. And that maybe by making an experience where the user actually, instead of getting a kind of stop sign, actually has a good positive experience with that content, is able to read it, and then is able to select, well, maybe I'll subscribe or maybe I'll do something else, that having that happen 20,000 times is better than having 3 people buy and, you know, 19,000 people go away very unhappy. So what we're trying to do is not to say to publishers, hey, you know, take a leap of faith and just go and do this. We're saying we're going to provide you an environment where you can experiment with that. So all these are things to try to move toward more and more free content that is sustainable. So we believe in expanding access. We're, you know, enthusiastic about doing that as in responsible ways. But when it becomes, if it becomes ideological, where it's either, you know, your whole resource is freely accessible, or you know, it's not, that's a much more complicated conversation to have for rights owners, for users, for everyone. So that's how we're trying to work on it. We're trying to make the investments together.
I didn't hear anything about problem of rights.
About what?
Rights. Copyright.
Yeah. No, I think I think that's sort of implicit in the entire thing, that the publisher, the rights owner has the rights to determine how they want their content to be used.
Content is not a problem, but for example, our visual, photos and so on. So how do you deal with this? Third party.
Yeah.
Third-party rights.
Yeah. So do you want to answer? You want me to answer?
Well, in most cases, we have the rights to the collected issue of the journal, not to, we can't do anything with like a picture separate the picture from the work and offer that in any way. So the legal clearance we have is the same legal clearance. You have to have published that, include those works in the journal. And as such, sometimes we can't even, if we offer an individual article for sale, sometimes because of the rights issue, we can't do that unless it's part of the whole issue of the journal. So we're very careful on the legal front to be able to protect and offer the rights only that you've already negotiated on behalf of your journal.
And we can speak separately. I think one thing to add is we have, we already work with a very large number of art and literature publications in JSTOR that have, even if they are American, have run into similar issues. And we developed an approach with the College Art Association, which is a very short provision in the license agreement to try to handle situations where the rights to an individual item in your journal might
40
be
years ago.
right, might be in question. So that we could actually speak separately about that to deal with anything that is specific to your publication.
But the general overarching justification, if you will, is that the journal has a collective right, and that the content kept in the context of the entire run of the journal. This is what we operate under, and so far it's been effective. Is all part of the journal's and the publisher of the journal rights are at the journal level. So so images or that are provided as part of that are all part of the issue. Now one of the reasons that we work in such great detail to faithfully replicate the original form of the journal is in part because it's serving as an archive, but also because from a standpoint like of authors' rights in the journal as it relates to the collectible, putting aside the issue of images or art, etc. You can always go to JSTOR and you can page through the entire run of the journal. I mean, if you actually go to it that way, you can go issue by issue, page by page. So the content is always presented in the context of the entire journal, and that's why in the publisher sales service, if we're offering up articles, we have to do some things with rights, and people have to assert that they have rights in order to make that.
And I should just follow up again on this question of whether we can make things freely available in Israel. And I think one of the exciting things about this collaboration is that I think we can take on issues like that as a community and think about what would be really beneficial. So if offering access to the archival versions is something that publishers would want to see, we would have the mechanisms to be able to say, in this geographical area, for this, for all users, we could supply that. And it would actually be a pretty interesting experiment to do, to say what is it to have the local language content available. I think we would see that as a way of just getting people excited about the scholarship itself, but also as a way for us, into the rest of the archive for those same users, and for the publishers as a way to get to the current issues. So it could be an interesting experiment to think about how we design it, and that also could be a model for some of the other things we do with other languages.
Thank you very much, Laura and Netta.
I also just want to thank very briefly Anne, because she's really been the champion here at JSTOR to carry this forward and through hills and valleys of the process. And so I think it's very exciting for us to be here, and also just to see her work and her vision be realized by this project. So I just want to